Now, moving on, I'm going to be talking about, asking you about some of your family life. I mean, do you want to tell me, I know you said you've got kids.
Yeah.
Um, do you want to tell me a bit about your personal life?
Yeah, sure, not a problem. I do. I've got three kids. They're in South Africa. Yeah, I try obviously go back and see them as much as I can. Obviously, I'm not with my ex-partners, so yeah, no, really good relationship, all good. I speak to them every day as much as I can. I go back and see them as much as I can. It's just a lot easier for me to provide, and to also, like, being here in this country, there's a lot more opportunity, than we would have and we do have in South Africa. So yeah, it just makes sense. But yeah, I've got some family over here. My mother, my sister, my brother's in Australia, and then I've got another brother which is in South Africa. Yeah.
So I'm guessing you're like the only child who's in the UK right now.
Yeah. No, my sister is. Yeah. My
Okay,
sister
cool.
is South Africa.
And is she from London as well? Or is that a bit?
No, she's no at all. She's from South Africa. Yeah.
No, I'm saying, is she staying in?
Oh yeah, she
here
lives
with
in London. Yeah, she lives in London as well.
So if you were to compare, because I've spoken to a lot of boxers from South Africa, and of course, Corey Sanders, it's a bit of a personal one,
Yeah.
but Corey Sanders was actually murdered, I believe, in
Yes,
South Africa,
yes.
trying to save his daughter from being kidnapped.
Yes.
Of course, South Africa doesn't come across always as the safest place. What's the environment like if you compare to the UK?
So, listen, very different kind of environment. Let's be honest. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, you kind of, they have guns in South Africa. Don't really have guns here. Do you know what I mean? And there's also 1,000,001 cameras in and around everywhere in London, and not so much in South Africa. But yeah, I do believe that the media portrays the country to be worse than what it is. Is it the safest place on earth? No, but where is? You've got London, which is supposed to be safe, and but you've got all these knife, stabbings and things happening all over. Listen, each country has its own kind of, how do I say, downfall, and bad parts. But there's beautiful parts in the country. There's so much to brag about in the country. The country is an absolute beautiful country. There's so much going for it. But like I said, in every country's got its downfalls.
And with your South African descent, with your South African background, I don't know why I'm using some very complicated words. English is not my first language. Do you want to tell me, like, what was it like growing up in South Africa? Because you're South African born, isn't it? South African born.
Yes, yeah.
And whereabouts in South Africa are you from?
So, funny enough, I'm actually from the south of Johannesburg. I was born in Johannesburg. South being, it's probably rated as one of the toughest parts to grow up, and one of the roughest. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. Unfortunately, my father passed away when I was 3 years old, so my mother had to raise 4 kids on her own. So yeah, I think it was kind of eat or be eaten kind of thing. Survival of the fittest. And that's the truth. I had a very tough upbringing, and yeah, I just guess I kind of, in the need of, believe it or not, I was bullied. When I was younger, I was bullied. And I know it's a cliche saying, but I was. And I therefore obviously got taken to boxing, and I think that's when the bug bit me, and I loved it, every second of it. And I kind of, like I said, from the age of 11, I was boxing all day, every day, and obviously I decided, growing up as you do, I found myself fighting a lot, in the streets, felt like I had something to prove. So again, these are unregistered bare knuckle fights I've had. I think everybody, has kind of run into a bit of trouble in their life. But yeah, needless to say, I got into boxing at a young age, and I just, instead of fighting and making the wrong kind of name for myself, I decided I wanted to take it professionally, and that's what I did. So, and then I got into it, and I turned pro at the age of 19. So yeah, I've been boxing for a long time, and it's kind of helped me, obviously with my confidence, and given that I was bullied all the time. So that's pretty much the main reasons why I actually got into boxing, was to defend myself, as you do.
Yeah, so your story actually reminds me a lot about one of the people from South Africa as well. He's actually one of internet's most sensation bodybuilders named Noel Dazel. I don't know if you know him, but he's actually got a fairly similar story, sort of growing up without a father, mother raising him by himself and the kids as well. of course, I'm not going to get into that because it's a complete different topic.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, what was it like? And it's very personal. But what was it like growing up without a father, mother having to sort of raise you and sort of all the other siblings? What inspiration did you take from that as a kid while being bullied?
Yeah, I think basically, you're forced to grow up and you kind of go through life living and learning. So, I've had to make mistakes to learn from my mistakes, and that's how I've grown. I think, not having that kind of support structure that, somebody to always have your back. I didn't have anybody to fall back on. That's why I always had to be tough. I always had to, always had to make tough decisions and again learn from my mistakes that I made. But given that my mother had 4 kids to support, and it kind of makes you grow up and be a man. You kind of try and take charge. And it was tough, but it was good because I grew up really fast and I learned a lot of kind of life lessons early on in life. So I'm fortunate enough that I've grown up, and my mom did a good job. She taught us always, she taught us with a lot of respect, to have a lot of respect. And she's an absolute gem. She's a queen. Raised four kids. Never mind just me on her own. I was an absolute wild child, so to speak. I was the menace.